Hey everybody, welcome back. As we approach our transitions, one of the things that we all bring to the table, that we all come from, is careers that are filled with rules and regulations. Everything that pretty much controls how we look, how we walk, how we talk, how we do almost everything. And so going into our transitions, how about doing something different? So with that, let's get into round 49 of the Tactical Transition Tips. This time the topic is reverse engineer entrepreneurship. For the close range group, those of you looking at your transition right away to say maybe a year from now, define success beyond revenue. And for the medium range group, those of you who are looking at your transition in say 5 years or so, shadow a business with your family. And for the long range group, those of you early in your careers, you've got at least a decade before your transition. Align your career goals with what is your meaning of life.
When you transition out, is try to model all of the good things, the discipline, the structure, that little bit of rigidity into your everyday life. And I think that that's a great way to make that transition happen, man.
Take the time to invest in yourself because it means everything. You know? That's what the difference is. The difference is not just to collect a check. It's to live 25 years, 30, 40 years after you retire and pay it forward that way.
Close range group. You have to define success beyond just how much money you can make. It's not just the dollars and cents that are going to really matter in your next life. I know that may sound lofty, that may sound touchy-feely, but chasing money alone is likely not going to bring you the happiness or is not going to feed what really drives you inside. If you're somebody who's thinking that, man, I don't even want to be my own boss. I want to just get my next job. I want to transition out of this, go get another job where I've got a paycheck that comes in, everything's solid. I get it. But I would say this. How much would your life be better if you were completely in charge? How much happier would you be if you were your own boss? So even though you're not considering it, if you're in the position or you have the desire to, I would say put it on your radar. For those who are already in that mindset and they know that they want to be their own boss, they want to own their own business. It's actually maybe been something that you've been thinking about for quite a while. I get it. Financial stability is very important. You have to take care of your family. You have to pay your bills. I get that. But when you think about what is going to be your next successful venture, your transition from these careers into your next life, not necessarily just a career, but everything about you, solely chasing money or measuring your success by how much money you're making is a grind. It's actually potentially going to weigh on you and cause you more stress than you're probably really looking for in this next phase of your life. Consider success more based on what gives you purpose. Pay your bills, do what you've got to do to take care of your family, but think about more what feeds your soul. So I would say that the first thing you need to do is you have to define your why. What is it that you want out of your next life? This business that you might want to start, what is its purpose for you? Do you want more control over your daily life, more control over your work schedule? Are you looking to maybe impact your community? Or are you looking to be able to spend more time with your family? Figuring out what the main purpose is the most important priority. Once you figure out what is that most important part, then set your compass for creating or starting a business that feeds that purpose. Make that your topic header. Make that whatever it is that you put on the top of that piece of paper that is your business plan. Make sure that business plan aligns with that primary goal. If you need to, start lean. Minimize the expenses as much as you can. If that means work from your garage or work out of your house as opposed to getting an office, or rely on borrowing equipment if you can. Say you want to start some type of, let's even go all the way down to maybe like pool cleaning business. Can you borrow some of the equipment as opposed to outpouring of a bunch of money to get all the equipment necessary? Just think of ways that, it's real easy for us to bust out the credit card and start dropping cash to start a business. But maybe what you do is you think about, how can I start this business and save the most amount of money without compromising or sacrificing the overall product and quality of the service that you're going to provide? So strike that balance, but aim for minimizing your costs when you're kicking it off. Something you may have to consider: if you're not in the right financial place for what you envision your business to be like, maybe you do have to go take that first job just to get you a paycheck coming in while you build that financial nest egg or that financial bucket to really do the business the way you feel it's necessary or that the business demands. That again is going to be something on you to decide what you want to do and what that business is that feeds that. The one thing, though, that we all have access to, being veterans and first responders, there are a lot of resources out there for us. At the lowest level, you're going to find other business owners who are either veterans or former first responders who are going to be willing to, if nothing more, offer their mentorship. And I would be willing to bet that 99.9% of them are going to be very open to helping you. But the other thing you can look at is small business type associations, small business loans that are extra or earmarked for veterans or first responders, or being a veteran or first responder makes the process kind of speed through. So do a little bit of research, find what resources are out there, and utilize everything that's available to you. But most importantly, like I said, define you. Define what is going to feed you and what's inside of you, and then create that business or do another business that's, already in existence. So say, I'm just using an example. Maybe what you really want to do is something where you're giving back to kids in the community. Maybe you create an after school program, or you create some sort of youth group / daycare center, something like that. But it's a business where you can make money, but ultimately it's your ability to give back to kids. I'm overgeneralizing it, but again, what I'm saying is, first figure out what drives and feeds you, and then find that business that feeds that, as opposed to just simply saying, well, I want to start a business, and yeah, maybe this is what is me, whatever that is, but I'm going to start a construction company. I'm just using this as an example. I don't know. I don't know what drives you, but what I'm going with this is maybe you have really no interest in construction, or you might have skills, but it's not really what feeds you. So align with what feeds you with what you're going to do next. You ever feel like your body just isn't keeping up the way it used to? We all know that life doesn't slow down, and sometimes the grind shows up in ways that we might not expect. Lower energy, focus that's a little off, maybe even motivation that isn't quite there. Human Performance TRT knows what it's like to want to get that edge back, and they're here to help you do it without the runaround. A veteran and first responder-owned company, they're not just your typical telehealth service that just hands out prescriptions. Human Performance takes a full view of your health. First, you hop on a video call with one of their expert providers who goes through your goals, your blood work, and any specific needs you've got. From there, they create a personalized plan that goes beyond just hormones. If you need support with mental health, they've got it. If you're looking to get serious about weight management, they can coach you through it. The best part, they keep it flexible. No locked-in subscriptions. As you progress, they're checking in, making adjustments, and keeping your health plan up to date. Because what works today might look different down the line. Everything they do is sent right to your door, hassle-free, so you can stay focused on the things that matter. And here's another benefit. If you're already on a hormone replacement program or have recent blood work, Human Performance makes it easy to transition. If your lab results are less than 6 months old, you could submit those directly. No need for new blood work. They'll review your current levels and build a customized plan based on where you're at now, so you don't have to start from scratch. It's just another way that Human Performance puts you first, meeting you where you're at on your health journey. Human Performance TRT is built around your success. This isn't a one-and-done approach. It's ongoing with real guidance because your health deserves more than just a quick fix. If you're ready to take the next step towards optimized health, check out Human Performance and see what a real personalized approach looks like. And for listeners of the Transition Drill podcast, use the promo code TDP for 10% off throughout the entire time you work with Human Performance. So head over to hptrt.com and remember to use the promo code TDP, that's Tom David Paul, for 10% off your program. Medium range group. Shadow a business so that you can learn about that business, but do it with your family. You've got a few years ahead of you. You've got this time to learn more about that business that you want to do, whatever it is. Find a similar or an exact business that's in your area. Reach out to that business owner. Be genuine, be humble. Equally, offer your time back to them in a volunteer way. Maybe it's 1 day a week that works with your schedule, whatever it is. But for what you want to learn and what you want to get out of not only them as a business owner, but learning about how that type of business operates, especially if you have no business experience or you have an idea of what you really believe you want to do and a business that you would like to run, but you've never worked for that type of entity. Maybe it's a sandwich shop, but have you ever made sandwiches when it's rush hour or lunchtime for 75 or 80 people? So get that experience now while you have the time to build it. What you're doing is you're creating in a weird way, you're creating a group of resources, people that you can then, people or persons, if it's only one business that you want to volunteer with, I would say try to do several over the next couple of years to really get a good idea of all the ins and outs of a similar business, plus learn the different operational styles of different business owners and how they run similar companies. But you're creating these resources. But at the same token, what you're also learning is, can a business like that thrive where you're at? Now, maybe there's none of these similar businesses in your immediate, I'll call it city or county or whatever is immediate to you. and maybe you have to drive a little bit to find a similar business. Well, then that's a positive because you've already identified a weakness or a lacking in your immediate area. The flip side, let's say you want to start I'm just going to say maybe a used car lot. I don't know, that's what came to mind. But what if you've got 10 used car lots in your city already? Now you got to start wondering, how am I going to set my used car lot apart from everybody else? So again, simply because there's another business in the city doesn't necessarily mean that yours can't succeed or that you shouldn't start yours. But also be mindful that if the area is saturated, flower shop or something like that, and there's already an overabundance of them in the area, then understand you're going to be fighting an uphill battle, and you're going to have to try to figure out what your niche is that will help your business take off. This is also where you need to bring your family along. Is this business something that you've always wanted to do, but yet maybe every time you voiced it, maybe your spouse says, you're freaking nuts, or I don't want to have anything to do with that, or don't just assume that I'm going to want to be involved. Or on the flip side, have you had those conversations with your spouse, but every time or each time you've talked about it, they've been very positive about it. How can we do this? Let's do it as a team. So engage your family. Get them involved in the same way on a limited basis over the next couple of years. For instance, if your spouse is really good with finances or documents, legal type stuff like that, have them go crazy and do all kinds of research on what these businesses need, what these businesses offer, the legal challenges or anything like that. If you get a person who owns a similar business who is very open to you, see if they would allow your spouse to come in and learn how they do their books, stuff like that. But again, get your spouse involved. Get your kids involved if they're going to be old enough to be productive members of this business. Maybe they learn customer service. Maybe they learn marketing. Doesn't necessarily have to be, directly related to the business you want to learn or you want to start, but get your kids involved. Again, this goes back to, though, creating that shared vision for what is going to be your future and your next life. If you can, bring your entire family into it, especially when you think about your kids. Think about starting something that you could then grow and potentially hand off to them when you're really ready to just be done and kind of go off to the pasture, so to speak. So bring your family into it, get their buy-in, get them committed to it from the get-go. Don't force your family. If they have no interest in it, then this just may be your journey and you're going to go on it on your own. From a career perspective, though, today, getting out there and learning other businesses, granted, they may not be veteran companies or first responder companies, but on the flip side, if you interact with veterans or former first responders, they may offer you insights that they brought from these communities into their career, but vice versa, you'll learn different leadership styles, different organizational styles. You'll be able to see a different perspective on challenges with employees, with customers, with the public. All of these things that you learn by volunteering your time and shadowing a business that feeds your long-term interest is going to have benefits to you today because you can bring that knowledge and apply it to your job now and use it to try to help make improvements to how your organization does business, how they deal with maybe the other companies or other private entities that they might deal with. Every company, military, first responder, Burger King, whatever it is dealing with a younger generation that doesn't have as strong of a work ethic. It's not something that is sold to just one business. It's young kids in general, and they're coming to all of our businesses. So maybe if you get a different perspective on how employees or what employees are looking for, you can then share that information with your organization. Long range group. You have to align your goals, not just your goals today. You have to align your life and long-term goals with what truly is your long-term meaning of your life. What ultimately drives and feeds you. When you figure that out, then align your current goals. Align your goals with your career today according to what is your overall meaning of life. What I mean by this, let's say you, in your heart, you know that the most important thing for you is to spend the most amount of time you can with your family. Maybe you got young kids, you want to be there to coach baseball, you want to be there to see them grow up, all of those things that are very important. But if you've talked to anybody who's been in the veteran or first responder community for a long time, one of the things they often talk about is these jobs and these careers often take us away from our families. So what I'm saying with that is align what your long-term goals are with your career. So if maximizing your time with your family, that might mean that you don't put in for that high-speed specialty team. That might be that you, and I'm not saying sacrifice your work, but you may need to be more diligent about not being lackadaisical about going home when it's time to go home. You got to figure out what really drives you, what's really important to you, and then make your career match those goals. If financial freedom is your biggest concern, having the money to do whatever you want to do, then you have to make the sacrifices today for the long-term benefit. If it's, hey, I know that I'm going to want to start XYZ business when I leave this career, I'm going to start making all the preparations for that now, whether it be ensuring that you get all the necessary training and certification, whether it be you take those assignments that are going to give you the maximum exposure of experience that benefits that long-term goal, or it's maybe starting the business now if you have that opportunity and get it up and going or get it off the ground while you're finishing this career. But all of that involves money. And so what that means is sacrificing now for that long-term benefit. Maximize now your saving, your pre-tax savings. Limit and live within a constrained or restricted budget, because yes, you may not have as much or perceive as much today. Maybe you lose out on a little bit of opportunities to go and do a lot more things with friends or travel or something like that. But it has to be, your drive today has to be aligned with what you want to do tomorrow. You can have all the aspirations in the world about what's going to be your post-transition life, but if you don't make preparations for it now, it's just going to be a pipe dream, because you're going to spend the next 15 or 20 years not preparing for it, whether it be saving money, whether it be going to training classes, whether it be taking on those assignments in your career now that expose you to the greatest opportunity to have the maximum amount of experience related to whatever you want to do. If you don't make those sacrifices now, when you get to your transition, then it's just going to be, well, now what can I do because I'm not prepared for it? Utilize this time now. You've got 10, 15, 20 years ahead of you to be as prepared as possible. But again, drive those decisions today by what aligns with your best meaning of life in the future. Think about businesses that you might want to be involved in down the road. Maybe you want to be a travel guide. Maybe you want to be a fishing guide. Whatever it is, you could utilize travel today to identify places that you would be able to take clients. So call it research. If you want to get with your tax person and potentially create your business today, maybe some of those trips can be tax write-offs between now and then. I don't know, talk to your tax person. But what I'm getting at is take every opportunity you can to not only learn as much as you can now for tomorrow, but also something that offers you a benefit. So using travel as an example, if you put travel on your schedule, hey, every year or every 6 months we take a trip wherever it's going to be. It could be the ancillary benefit to you today is the reduced stress, getting away from the job, protecting and preserving your mental health, getting off the X, as opposed to being one of those people who never takes vacation time because they think that they can't be away from work because there's quote unquote too much stuff going on, and they're not going to miss you. The job's going to be there when you get back. Take the vacation time. But think about all of the positive benefits down the road. Like I said, if you wanted to do something related to travel, all of these destinations could be information gathering, but they're also information gathering on a personal basis. Maybe you're thinking about where you want to relocate, where you would like to start a business. As I mentioned previously, is the area where you would like to relocate to and the business you want to start too saturated in that area? Or maybe if you know you're going to relocate someplace and there isn't currently a business there, do you have the opportunity now to maybe put that business in place? Again, it goes back to depending on, what kind of business you want to start, will you be authorized to have it as a secondary or side hustle while you finish out these careers? But just be thinking of that big picture. Where do you want to get to? What is your meaning of long-term life? And then make your decisions for your career that maximizes that benefit. One of the things that we can often get wrapped up in is the perception that we have by our peers, coworkers, friends, whatever it is, as to what's the cool thing to do or what's the right thing to do, all that type stuff. You got to be secure in yourself. You got to be able to stand there and say, this is what's important to me. This is what's important to my family. And we're going to make the compromises and sacrifices to ensure that that's going to happen. So, like I said, maybe that means that you don't put in for that specialized team. Or if you do, you maybe not tell them that when you're putting in for it, but discuss it with your family and say, hey, you know what? For the experience of this, I'm going to do this for 3 years, 1 year, whatever it is. But set yourself an exit out date to say, okay, I did it. Now that I've got that experience, I'm going to move on and do something else. Don't get entrenched in that unit. And then one, you get a limited exposure to other options for your careers, or two, it starts having a bigger impact on you, your family, and what are your long-term goals. In the end, though, where you are today is the starting point. Your career, in theory, is going to go another 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it is in your plan right now. Just be thinking that, unfortunately, the one thing that these careers offer is we could be out of these jobs tomorrow. Even if it's not planned, things happen. So make preparations today so that if it does happen tomorrow, you're at least in the best position you can to pivot and to move on to something else. This episode is brought to you by Triton Coffee. a veteran-owned brand and lifestyle. And while they're masters of cold brew, Trident's beans are roasted to create a flavor that shines whether you drink it hot or cold. There's no bitterness, there's no burnt taste, it's just good tasting coffee. Their coffees taste amazing hot, which is how I prefer it, while still designed to excel as a cold brew. But Trident coffee is more than just great taste. Trident supports your wellness journey. Featuring ingredients like organic mushrooms, adaptogens, and nootropics, it's made for those who enjoy good coffee and value quality and health. So if you're looking for a coffee that meets you wherever your day takes you, hot or cold, you need to check out Trident Coffee. I know I said I prefer hot coffee, but here's a tip from me. Mix their instant cold brew with your favorite protein for a protein coffee drink that's great cold. You can thank me later. I know there's a lot of coffee options out there, but give Trident a try. I know you'll enjoy it as much as I do. Head over to tridentcoffee.com and use the promo code TDP15 for 15% off your order. That's TDP15 for 15% off your order. So in closing, close range group. Define your success beyond just revenue. Create something that brings you more than just money. It brings you an internal happiness that you're doing something that you would almost do if you could do it for free. Medium range group. Shadow a business to learn about it, but do it with your family. Prepare for your tomorrow with your family's involvement. And long range group. Align your goals today for what drives or what best defines your meaning of life tomorrow. Lead your career by what leads you, by what is your compass. Thanks again for taking the time to tune in, listen, watch, however you're getting this podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe. If you could, I would appreciate that you share the podcast with anybody that you think would enjoy it or benefit from it. And until the next one, our transitions are our chance for us to take control of our lives. How better than being our own boss and taking maximum control of our life?